Great. Let's see if I can. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bridge. I heard a lot of great ideas, and the financial literacy conversation that was just ended on is a good piece for what we're going to talk about. The issue that we're looking at is much larger than that, though. We're looking to break the cycle that exists for poor or inadequate literacy, numeracy, and limited English skills, especially around disadvantaged populations. But we didn't want to just limit the problem to disadvantaged populations, immigrant families, as well as families in transition. So our solution that we discussed, and I have a diagram that I'm blocking so I don't scare you, in the background, our solution was a web-based, dual-generational, targeted application that builds literacy and numeracy through the lens of financial competencies. So what we did was say there's an opportunity here to move 2 generations forward. And what's the Venn diagram? What's the center of the Venn diagram for families and youths and adults to connect on? And what we saw was youth success and real life outcomes like financial safety, fiscal responsibility, savings, etc. So when I talk about the application, what we're talking about is how it works. We look at the first entry point as through banking institutions, incentivizing families to work through the competencies to gain digital badges, as well as earn financial incentives, which could be cashback rebates, it could be actual funds, or it could be a way to build credit for youth or adults, or repair credit for adults and youth as well. So before I get to resources, let's just walk through what it might look like. We talked about 2 different users are going to be accessing this platform. One, the adult user, another, the youth user. And we went to a general explanation because it's not always a mother and a son or a father and a daughter that are going to be accessing this. It might be a mentor and a mentee, as well as a grandmother to a grandson that get to access this application and work through these skills together. So users, adult, youth, 2 different entry points into the application. So let's just walk through as an adult. The adult selects that they want to work on skills. We're looking at financial literacy skills. And they want to work on budgeting because that's something that's important. They have to pay rent, they have a new job, they have to understand how to budget. And where that breaks out is that we have 2 things. And we want to point out, first is it has several subsets that happen in all of these competency areas or these skills areas, but each one's offered in dual language. We want to make sure to go ahead and address the gap between English and Spanish speaking. We'd love to develop that further as we move on, but we're trying to grab the biggest population at one time as we start out through this process. So each activity, each tutorial is put into a dual language format. So budgeting breaks out into these little pods. Each one breaks out into what we expect to see in those skill set development pods. So video tutorials, vocabulary, and you'll notice this is where the literacy part starts to build in. So the vocabulary that aligns with budgeting. Numeracy, that would be key to budgeting. How-to, so examples and walkthroughs of budgeting, as well as activities. So examples for the adult or youth to walk through. And then real-life scenarios. So just like example we gave earlier, scenario of we have less money coming in this month. We have the same amount of bills. What can we do to alleviate this month, this next year, and work together? So as they go through these skills, they develop the skills in a certain area, and we want the adult and youth to work on this together. So our next step is for a project-based learning opportunity for the adult and youth to work together to show their competency. And this is where the badge is earned. This is also where the credit or micro-credential is earned, is when this competency is completed. And it ties the loop for us to actually have the families working in tandem to address these family issues that we see across all socioeconomic classes. And the last piece is, you can imagine with some of these resources, what we're really looking for are the developer side. You can see there's some complexity here, but there's also simplicity in that there's some curriculum that already exists for financial literacy that we can tap into, as well as UX developers talking about what's the experience look like for the end user. But we're starting with our partners, talking about banks. We talked about banks first because of the financial information and tying that to incentivization, but also looking at community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, and social services, as well as libraries and schools to give support as well. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you.